Yossi Mendelovitz's son Yuval was just 13 and a half years old when a suicide bomber targeted the bus he was taking home from school. It came during the height of the Second Intifada, or Palestinian uprising.
These two communities cannot live together. Each of them get different perspective, different narrative.
And violence is on the rise again, 15 years on, prompting many to ask if a third Intifada is on its way.
It's a different intifada because in the first and the second intifadas, there was a very clear starting date. With this particular phase of the Palestinian struggle against apartheid and occupation, there is no clear one day in which this started.
But each day the violence rises a notch, provoked this time by Israel's restrictions to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, a site holy to Muslims, located on the Temple Mount, hugely symbolic for Jews. First, a Palestinian rams his car into Israeli passengers at a railway station, killing 2, including a 3-month-old baby. 10 days later, another Palestinian does the same. 2 Israelis die, 14 are wounded. Outside a West Bank settlement, a young Israeli woman is stabbed to death.
There is a little bit Third Intifada. You can't say it's exactly Intifada, but there is problems, yes, definitely there is problems.
I think it's going to be the Third Intifada. Yeah, it's the beginning, and it started before a long time.
Hamas has praised the attacks, calling for what it terms Israel's racism and occupation to be increasingly resisted. Other extremist groups have followed suit.
We hope that these things lead to the Third Intifada, because we believe that if peace process will continue without any end, the Israeli will take more and more lands, will destroy more and more houses and places, and will attack and will kill more.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has dared rioting Arabs to live under Palestinian rule in the West Bank and Gaza, to which a prominent Arab-Israeli legislator retorted the Prime Minister had gone off the rails. As the rhetoric mounts, so does the casualty count, and the fear that the Third Intifada might not be starting, but instead is already here. Paul Islia, RT, Tel Aviv.
While things are deteriorating in the West Bank, the struggle for a Palestinian state is gaining more support in Europe. Spain could become the next country to recognise Palestine, with its parliament holding a symbolic vote later today. That's after moral backing was received from other European nations. Sweden was the first officially recognising Palestine last month. British MPs held a non-binding vote, a move that was quickly condemned by Israel. Soon after, the upper house of the Irish Parliament did the same. And as well as Spain, France will vote next week on the issue, and Italy is discussing it. Palestinian activist Mustafa al-Barghouti says that tensions will not subside until Palestinians are allowed to go on their own.
The Israeli army is shooting high-velocity bullets at demonstrators. This never happens in a country that is a democracy. And they are shooting people with gunshots in response to fireplace. The basic and root problem here is the continuation of the system of apartheid and occupation, the longest occupation in modern history, and the fact that Palestinian people are not free since a very long time. And the only solution to this, the only way to stop violence, is to allow Palestinians to be free, to end occupation, and to end the system of racial discrimination that Israeli government is practicing against Palestinian population.
And earlier on, we heard from Einat Wilf, a former Knesset MP, and now senior fellow with the Jewish People Policy Institute. She believes there's a campaign to drive Israelis further from their historic roots.
The Jewish people have every right to sovereignty in their own homeland. We find ourselves for decades now under attack by the Arab world, the Arab Palestinians, who continuously deny the right of the Jewish people to sovereignty in their homeland, denied the historic, deep connection between the Jewish people and Jerusalem, between the Jewish people and the Temple Mount. And what we are seeing now is yet again an effort to drive away the Jewish people from their own places, to drive fear into people's hearts,